Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of the Zombie Survivor game. In this lesson, you'll be able to add in the zombies randomly around the screen. They'll be animated, they'll turn towards you and chase you down, and if you hit them 3 times, then they'll get removed from the world. But if you get hit by the zombies, you lose the game, and it'll count how long you lasted. Hope you guys enjoy. If you were here last time, you should be to the point where you can have your player rotate, you can fire your projectiles, and you can turn and follow the mouse and fire by clicking. If you haven't done that, go back to the first part 1 and you can get that done, and then we're going to actually set our background image to something so we can it looks a little bit better. The blue, we were able to fill our background and make it, you can leave it blue if you'd like, but I'm going to change it just to a default or a pre-made Greenfoot image. And so now we have our world. So first things, I want to go straight into creating our zombies. So this is from opengameart.org. Give credit to Riley Gombart for making these zombie images so that I didn't have to for this lesson. But if you go into Greenfoot, and I actually in my files have, first I downloaded a zip file, and then I copied, or I moved over the idle image and then all 16 of the move images, and we will use all of these, and it's actually pretty easy. Okay, so once you have that saved into your images from zombie survivor file images, you can just throw them in there where your other images are already there, and then we're able to access them. And so if we go ahead and create our zombie, you'll see on the side we have all of our images that we just saved in there. And we can push OK. Those are PNG files. And so when we go in and we have our zombie, we want our zombies to be added in with a public zombie. We're going to create a constructor, and we want them to be the idle image originally, so right when we add them in, and then we need to scale them down, but then they're going to, like, almost like a flip book, that's how we're going to animate. So we're going to constantly be changing between all of these moving images, and we'll just have a variable that goes, well, skeleton move 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then back to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through. And if you do that quick enough, it really looks sharp. Okay, so first things first, in our constructor, we want to set our image to, it is skeleton move, actually idle, 16. We'll take a look and make sure. Okay, that needs to be a string, and it needs to be a .png file. So when we add him into the world, there we go. We have our idle stance. Okay, and then we are going to get this image, and we're going to scale the image. So we need to access the image, get image dot, and then there's a scale method within there that expects how much horizontally you're scaling it, and width and height. So first the width, we're going to make it 80 and 80, and that seems like it was a pretty good size for our zombies. And so when we add them in, there they are. Boom, pretty good size. And we're actually going to increase the size of our world before I forget. I'm going to make it 1,000 and 800. I know we've done this already, and you can make it whatever size you want. We'll write the code so that it works kind of with whatever size you guys decide to go with. So our zombie now has one image, but we need to have an image that will be which frame we're in, we'll call it. And it starts at 0 and it goes all the way to 16. And so we're going to create a method that will animate. So we're going to animate our zombie here. So we can do public void animate. I think that's pretty obvious that that's what this method will do. We are not going to be animating 60 times per second. That's just too fast, too much animation. So we are going to need to have a counter that animates every 8th frame or so. Int, call this animate image. So we're going to make a count for this method. So our count will start at 0, and we need to make sure our count goes up first thing in the act method. Command Shift I. Alright, so if our count is divisible by 5, 8 we'll start off with. And if that, when count is divided by 8, if the remainder is 0. So at 8, 16, 24, 32, count will be divided by 8 will be 0 at those points. We are going to animate our character, so we're going to put in, we're going to set the image to skeleton dash move underscore, and we're going to add our animate image, and then we're going to also have to add a plus. This is called concatenating. This is turning this animate image integer into a string and adding it to our string. Okay, and then after that we are going to say animate image plus plus, and we put that in the act method. We have our moving zombie. Now our zombie, first of all, gets to 17, and there is no image 17, so we're going to need to fix that. So we can do that first, and then we'll worry about the size. So now if animate image equals 16, animate image equals 0. Okay, and we will actually do that before we set our image, and we're going to check if its animate image is actually greater than 16. Okay, so just for the look, we'll put curly brackets there, and then we're going to set our image, and our animate image will add up. Now, if we add in our zombie, it lasts more than just the 16 frames that it originally did, and you can see that it's animating and moving. If we want to do it a little bit faster, we can just lower this number, and we can make it move a little bit faster, and we'll leave it like that for now. But if we wanted to move this all the way down to 1, we're going to be animating the character very quickly, and they're just sprinting. Okay, so you can see how when this lowers, that means if whatever count is divided by 1 equals 0. So anything, any whole number, integer value divided by 1 will always be equal to 0. So that's why it goes faster. It's constantly. This would be all even numbers. This would all be all numbers that are divisible by 3, by 4, by 5. Okay, so we're going to leave it at 5 for now. And actually, if we go advanced through this game, we're going to make this a variable. Let's go ahead and do that now. And then with it being a variable, we can change it and make them look like they're running faster, moving faster, by animating them faster later in the game. So animate speed, we'll call it, and we'll set it equal to 5. And actually, we just need to know that if we lower this number, that's what will make them animate faster. So just be aware of that. Okay, and we could even leave a note for us up there. It says lower the animate speed for faster animation. Okay. Alright, now that we have our animate speed and we have them moving, we need to scale it down. So we want to also make sure we do get image after we set the image, and we can scale this image to 80. So that way, when we add in our objects, they will be a smaller size. Okay, and actually we won't even actually use the idle, because the second it gets added in, count will be 0, which will 0 divided by 0 is still 0, so it'll animate that first time through to move 0. So it should immediately show up. But let's go ahead and start adding in our animate image. The reason I said that is because the scaling, if you notice, is a little bit different in size. You can also just change, like this image that we got at idle must be a little bit bigger than when they're moving, because once it starts moving, you can see it gets a little smaller. But anyways, that's not a problem. So we're going to go into My World, and we are going to randomly, or not randomly, but we're going to consistently add in our zombies. And so we need to make an act method within our world, so that the world, that's where things get added in, we're going to add it into the background. So that's what's getting affected. So we want to make sure it's in that class. Okay, and so we are going to want to have 8 locations, 1, 2, 3, all around the border, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, where our zombies get added into the world, and they will randomly go through all of these spots. And so there's a few different ways you could potentially do it. You could maybe give each of these locations variables or something, and then randomly get them that way. But I think the best way to do it is, and it's a good thing to practice, is we're going to do a switch statement, which I have not done in a previous lesson. So first, we need to know how often we are going to add in our object. So that'll be with another count. So we'll have our count start off at 0, and then if our count, and we might change this to, let's put it as a variable right now. So spawn speed equals 50, and we'll leave a quick comment that says spawn speed will be faster if you lower value of spawn speed. And let's make sure that this doesn't look like the variable. So spawn speed, literally the speed at which they spawn, will be faster if you lower the value of the variable spawn speed. Okay, so we'll do spawn speed equals 0. So every 50 counts, we're going to essentially add in a zombie. So our zombie switch statement, since there's going to be 9 locations, I'm going to create, it's kind of like a if, else if, but 8 times, not 9 times, because there's 8 locations, so 8 times. So we are going to do a switch, and it's, like I said, like an if, else if, checking the same thing. So we're going to have a variable. So variable, okay, and then you're going to have a case, and if the variable value is this would be the condition, and then colon, and then command. Case, condition, colon, command. Okay, so we're going to have our variable will be random number, and so we are going to have a random number, and we'll have the world just create a variable for random num equals Greenfoot dot get random number 8. and we'll call it random spawn. So if we use another random number, we're not confused. So random spawn is what's going to go in here. Random spawn. And it says it'll get a number between 0 and 7, including 7. So Greenfoot.getRandomNumber gets 8 numbers, whatever you plug in here. And so since it's 8, we would get a random number between 0 and 7. Okay, so we will, every time we count and we have a new spawn, we want to set random spawn equal to another Greenfoot.getRandomNumber 8. And actually, we probably, since we're setting the value there, we can just call this just an integer, just initialize it. Okay, now since we have this random spawn equals Greenfoot.getRandomNumber here, it gets a random number whenever it's about to spawn. Right here is the random number, and then we'll assign the location here. So the condition will be like a number 0 through 7. Okay, so if random spawn, this is kind of like if random spawn equals 0, we're going to do this. We're going to add object new zombie, and we're going to put the location at 0, 0. Okay, so this is our x value and our y value where we're going to put the zombie, and so we want it at 0, 0. The width to be half the width of the world, and the height to be 0. The width to be the full width of the world, and the height to be 0. And so we're going to plug in each one of these depending on which random number gets plugged in, and we will check it with the case. Okay, so what if random spawn equals 1? Okay, well if random spawn equals 1, we're going to add an object, a new zombie at location 2, we'll call it, which is get width divided by 2, 0. And the thing with a switch statement is that you need to tell it when to exit the switch statement. So after we add in, if it's 0, we would add in the zombie. If you don't add what we call, we don't add a break, then it will just go on to case 1, and then it'll move on there and add another object there, and then go to the next command and keep adding commands. So the break is to exit the switch statement. Okay, and then 2, so I'm going to do a little bit of copy and paste here, so we speed this up a little bit. So we need 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 0 through 7, 8 spots. So in case 2, we want get width and then the y to be 0. So instead of get width divided by 2, we're going to switch this to just get width. And then we'll start over and have the width at 0 and get this spot and then that spot over there on the right and the left side. So width will be 0 the first time, and it'll be get height divided by 2. And then the width will be the whole entire width, and the height will be half the height. So we will just do get width and get height divided by 2. Then we will do the width as 0 down at the bottom here. So we make sure and then get height, because that will be the full height right here. And then here we're going to do get width divided by 2 and get all the height here. And then get width divided by 2. Oh, excuse me. Then it's get width and get height to get that bottom right corner. All the way down here. Okay. We have a break after each of them. Excellent. We need another curly bracket, click on Shift I, format it. Okay, so we should be now. This is all in the act method. I'm going to put it in its own public void spawn zombies. And spawn zombies. Now, whoa, where are they moving? They're not moving at all. So we need to have our zombies move, and we need to also make sure our count isn't always equal to 0, because 0 modulo 50 will make them spawn in very quickly. So count plus plus will change the count. Forget to do that. Then now they should start spawning in at random places. Sweet. All right, so now we need to make them turn towards. So our zombies, public void, we'll show them how to move around. Okay, we can put in, supposed to keep every method to one execution, but one purpose. Move around is generally one purpose. Turn towards, for now we're just going to turn towards the middle. So get world dot get width divided by 2, get world dot get height divided by 2. And now, but eventually they're going to be turning towards the player. But so we need to make sure we put that in the act method. Whenever we create a new method, still forget to do that somehow. Okay. Now, here they come. Sweet. So we got them coming from all different sides, and we need to have our projectiles fire at them, and we also need our zombies to turn towards us. So our projectiles hitting them, we need to go to within our zombie. We need to have our projectiles hit us, or the zombie class, and within this class we need to have it, so we're going to do public void hit by projectile, and we need to have our zombies get hit, lose health, because eventually you can have your zombies get stronger and just alter this game a little bit. But if you use just remove object immediately, then it won't do that. And on top of that, we want our projectile that does hit us to be removed from the world within that same time frame. And so if you get hit by a projectile and just remove object this, and then you go into projectile and you remove object this, the code is conflicting. It doesn't know whether the projectile is hitting the zombie first or the zombie's hitting the projectile, and which one to remove. So it causes some problems. So we are going to create a reference to the projectile. Okay, and we are just going to create a general actor because we can use that. So all of these are actors, right? Because they're subclasses of the superclass actor. So we can reference our actor class projectile as a reference to any actor. Okay, and we have a way of accessing any actor by doing a command that we have. So a lot of our commands actually have the ability to get actors. So in particular, these two, get one intersecting object or get one object at offset. This is how you use on a platformer to get something near something else, the offset of it. So not the center of it, but maybe the top of the object, or the left or the right or the bottom. The get one intersecting object is the fancier is touching, essentially. So instead of if it's touching any class of projectile, it gets a reference of projectile, and the reference of the projectile means which projectile are we talking about? Well, we're going to be talking about the projectile that is intersecting us, and now we have a reference for the projectile that is intersecting us. And now that we have that reference, we can use that to remove the projectile that is intersecting us, that is intersecting the zombie, because we're in the zombie class. Okay, so if we look for a projectile that is intersecting us, which is what the value of this variable projectile, this reference that we have, it is checking to see if any object is intersecting the zombie class. If that is not equal to nothing, okay, so if there is something of the projectile class intersecting the zombie, then that would mean projectile would not equal nothing, because there is something that's intersecting the zombie of the projectile class. And so if that doesn't equal nothing, if that does not equal null, then we are going to get world dot remove. No, we are going to just do, we're going to do health minus minus. Now we haven't created our health yet, so we're going to go up to the top and create a int health, and this is the zombie's health. Okay, and we'll start it off equaling 3, just to show that it works. And then we are going to get world dot remove object, and we have a reference to the projectile that we want to move. So this is remove. So this is the real reason that we do it, is now we have a reference to the projectile that is intersecting the zombie class. And so we can remove that projectile by doing get world dot remove object, and now that we have a reference to the actor of the projectile that is intersecting the zombie, we can remove it. Okay, health minus minus, and should be good. Now we want to say if our health equals 0, we can do get world dot remove object this, and this is a reference to the zombie instance, the one zombie that we are talking about. Okay, so Command Shift I. Hit by projectile needs to be in the act method. It needs to be the last method in the act method, otherwise actor not in world error will show up, because we remove object this. This has to be the last line of code that is relevant to the zombie, or else it'll try to find zombie's health after it's already been removed from the world, and it'll cause problems. Okay, looks like I started with a quote or something. Okay. So now fire once, twice, 3 times it gets removed. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and if you are far away or at a certain angle, sometimes, yeah, the bullet will disappear a little fast. And so if you want to change the size of each one and go in and change the size of each image and crop it to make sure it's the right size, you're welcome to do that. I'm not going to do that. And once we actually get into it, you'll see that it actually works a little bit better than what it represents right there. And I think when it turns towards the player, it makes it work a lot better as well. So now we want our zombies to turn towards our actual player. So this is something that we've done, and if you took my beginner course, the 6-hour course, you've already done this before, but we are going to pass a parameter. So what needs to happen is our zombie needs to be able to reference our player. And now in our world, that's where we're creating or adding in our player. So this is where the reference really needs to start. So first in our player, we need to do, we can make it public player is main player equals new player. Okay, so now main player is its own instance of new player. So we'll call it main player. And now in our zombie, we need to be able to receive. So this is a way that it's visible. Okay, it's essentially visible to the class. And so our zombie, when we add in our zombies, we are going to need to pass the player to them so that they can see it as well. This makes it visible, but the zombie is still blind. So we need to be able to both pass the information, and I like to think of it as receiving the information. Okay, so for the zombie to receive the information, it needs to get the main player. And so in this way, whenever we add a zombie in, each zombie that we add in needs to be able to read, needs to have the information of the main player. And so when we do player, this creates our own reference within our zombie that we can receive throughout the class. This is kind of preparing us to receive it and makes it visible to us, but we need to actually be able to store that information. So in order to store it, we call on our player that we have created a reference to, and we set it equal to the main player that's getting passed to us right here. Okay, so player equals main player. And now, if we do turnTowards, instead of get with, we can do main player dot get x and main player dot get y, and it'll find the x value and the y value of the main player. Oh, actually, not the main player is what we called it when we were receiving it. How it's stored in our class is by player. So player is equal to main player. So we should not be putting main player down here. We should simply be putting player, and that's actually a good mistake because that's good for you guys to see the difference. Okay, so this is what we've named it through our class. This is kind of the receiving name that we're getting when we put it in the parameter, which we haven't done yet. So now when we're adding in our zombies, we need to put in what player are we receiving, or are we reading? The main player. If I had 4 or 5 different players, I could have the zombie go to player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, and they could be hunting different players. But we just have one, so we can just go ahead and do the old copy, paste, paste. Okay. Now, ooh, they're hunting me down. So I want our zombies to have a little bit more health, so I'm going to switch it to 5. I'm also going to have them spawn in just a tad bit faster. We can use our spawn speed to make them enter the world a little bit faster, really make it tough on us. And you see how the projectiles look a lot better now, and we can kind of dodge and see how long we could survive. Okay, and so go into our player, and for now we can just do you lose if you get touched by a zombie. Public void you lose, and if is touching zombie.class, touching any zombie in the world. We are going to get world.show text, and we're going to put you lose, comma, get world.get with divided by 2, comma, get world dot get with get height, whoops, divided by 2. And now we have our you lose, our act method. We're also going to add a timer in right after this to show on the you lose, we can display how long you actually survived. Okay, so if we get hit by a zombie, you lose, Okay, but with this you lose, we need to stop the game. So we can just do Greenfoot dot stop. But now we're going to add in our timer. And so really our timer, we could quickly, easily add it in. And so we can do, since our time is always going to be however long our player is in the game, we'll just do it the easiest way here, fastest way. You could reference the world and try to get it from the world, which is be great to do, but we're going to do it this way. You lasted time divided by 60, since we're doing that many frames per second. And then we do these pluses, and it's called concatenating. And so we're changing this string, we're changing this integer value into a string value. So we're going to seconds. Okay. So now, how long did I last? You lose. You lasted 3 seconds. Okay. So now that you have that, and you have a way you can lose, we can quickly go into projectile, and you could put in, forgot to do this, is at edge, if is at edge, remove object this. Makes it nice and simple and easy. If is at edge, remove object this. Okay, that way, get world dot remove object this. Get world dot. That way, when you hit the edge of the screen, your projectiles will actually disappear. Okay. And now, if you get hit, you lose. You lasted 3 seconds. So, next, we are going to create a score counter. We'll create a visible timer. We're going to see if we can't make things a little bit more advanced, upgrades, have the zombies increase in speed, maybe increase in their health, things like that. Go ahead and feel free to mess around with how much health they have and how long you can last, and try to have fun with it. But until next time, thanks for watching. This is Crow's programming course, and I hope you join us next time. Thanks, guys. See ya.